In this video, we will talk about how learn any language effectively using Steve Kaufman and Ajay Hook's methods. And watch this video till the end to get more tips in language learning acquisition. This is several reasons the benefits of learning new language. First of all, benefits from learning new language is communication, especially if you be able to speak English, you can communicate to people around the world. This is the joy, this is the enjoyable from the language. You can connect with people around the world without the barrier language. My personal language learning journey is I start learn new language, Arabic and English from my school in 2010. I start learn new language, Arabic and English. But the methods school system giving to me is not effective to improve language skills. Like we just memorize two vocabs, English and Arabic a day. It's mean we memorize 4 vocabs a day. And we learn grammar, Arabic and grammar English. And we learn too many grammar rules. And 4 years I learned like that stuff, like that methods. But the results, I be able to speak well, yet I can't listen what native say, either the native Arabic or native English. I still be able to understand them. So that the methods in school given to us is ineffective. So in maybe in 2021, I back learn new language again for several reasons. I don't know why I stopped learn new language after I graduate from high school. And then in 2001, I start learn new language again with different approach. Like I just free learning. I take course from some tutor for sure. I'm not memorize vocabulary again. I don't learn grammar again. I just lot of exposure by listening and reading. I listen, I read many content, I watch many YouTube, British people, American people. That is by that method, by that approach, I get the better results than memorization traditional methods. So maybe this approach is get a lot of experience with the language, get a lot of exposure to the language, don't overcomplicate with grammar. That is the best method you can use this approach to your language learning journey too. My big inspiration or the language teacher is very influenced me in how change my perspective in learning new languages. Steve Kaufman and Ajay Hook. To follow their method is so easy to apply in your language learning journey. They don't advocate to excessive focus on grammar rules and passing the test, exam, IELTS, TOEIC, TOEFL, and something like that stuff. Their method is just force you to get a lot of exposure to the language, a lot by in the first time you should to get a lot of experience with the language, especially by reading and listening. You will acquire the language pattern, the language styles kind of naturally, effortlessly. And that is why I very like their method. I watch their YouTube often. Okay? You can watch it, you can watch them. And maybe when you watch them, you will feel that learning no nothing language is hard. Learning new languages you can learn, you feel you can learn, you be able to learn all of the language in this world by watching their video. Before we dive into the next practical tips, I will share to you. Remember that this method I mentioned to you, I advocate to you like Edgy Hawk and Steve Kaufman method. That if this method not suitable for you or you don't like it, you don't need to follow this method. But if this method is suitable for you, you may follow this method because for me, this is the best method. This is the method I like the most in learning language because it's easy to apply in our language learning journey. So you're free to choose what method you like. Either you like textbook method or traditional method. Now we go to the next point that we talk about the importance of exposure to the language. Like I said in the first video, when you are a beginner, you should to get a lot exposure and experience to the language. That is the crucial parts. This is the basics, the main importance. Exposure, whatever exposure you read, listen, watch in English, and review your vocabulary. That is kind of exposure. Exposure. The more you expose yourself to the language, the better you are. The better you are. You will get kind of automatically new words you encounter. You will get new vocabularies, and you will remember that vocabulary you encounter because you will encounter the same words often. Many times you will encounter the same words. Because of that, instead of trying to memorize bunch of vocabulary, memorize bunch of grammar rules, just get experience with the language. Get lots of exposure to the language. That is the most effective way to enhance your language skills. Now in this point, I will explain you why reading and listening is important in learning language and the crucial part also. If you watch Steve Kaufman videos, they emphasize to excessive listening and reading. Listening is very benefits to increase your vocabulary and to improve your vocabulary comprehensions, while listening is purpose to understand people, especially native speakers. That is what listening for. Why I emphasize you to a lot of listening, listens. That because by listening, we will know what people say. If you watch TV, you watch English movie, and you don't understand what they say, there is no words you get. You don't get any words come out from that movie. That means you lack of listening. You don't take enough time to work on your listening skills. That's why for years I learned language in schools. When I watch movie, I just know they say what I you. Just three words I get. What, I, and you. That is three words I get. Because yeah, in the school, just focus on how pass exams, focus textbook and grammar, something like that stuff. We lack of listening. In school, if you learn language in the school, they don't emphasize or they don't emphasize you to a lot of listening. And now I will share stories or examples of successful polyglots who are prioritize exposure in learning language. First of all, obviously, I will mention Steve Kaufman, that he can learn 20 language and more. This is Steve Kaufman is a well-known polyglot and the founder of Link. If you are watch his video often, you are familiar with Link. They often promote this link in his YouTube channel. A language learning platform. He is a prominent figure in the language learning community and has successfully learned multiple languages using his methods. His approach to language learning is centered around the concept of extensive reading and listening, both of which emphasize exposure to the language. Okay, his method is very beneficial for me and maybe for you too. Benny Lewis, fluent in 3 months. Benny Lewis is a well-known polyglot who set out to learn multiple languages in a short time. He emphasizes the importance of immersion and has spent time living in various countries to learn the language. His approach involves speaking with native speakers from day one and avoiding excessive use of textbooks and grammar rules. That said, fluent in 3 months. This is fluent in 3 months. Many have controversial. Maybe I disagree with fluent in 3 months. But if the meaning from fluent in 3 months is just be able to standard speak and just be able to understand when people say, maybe that makes sense. But if just you start learn new language and you fluent 3 months, you becoming speak well, you can be able to speak well is, I think, impossible, because in 3 months you not yet get a lot of exposure. So that statement is fluent in 3 months is controversial. It's difficult. So difficult people fluent in just 3 months. Tim Donner, hyperpolyglot. Tim Donner is a hyperpolyglot who has learned more than 20 languages. He often attributes his success to surrounding himself with native speakers, watching foreign films, and listening to music in the target language. Tim's approach emphasizes the importance of exposure to the language through various media and cultural interactions. So that's Tim Donner emphasizes to watch several media. Like now, because we have YouTube, we have TikTok, Facebook. Too easy to us to get English lesson, to get lots of exposure with the language. If you want to listen and read in the same time, you just watch YouTube with English subtitles. It is very nice learn. Kilo Lom, Hungarian polyglot. Kilo Lom was a Hungarian translator and one of the first simultaneous interpreters in the world. She learned over 16 languages and emphasized the importance of extensive reading and exposure to the language. She will read books in her target language for hours, allowing her to gain an intuitive grasp of the language. Exposure is one of the foundation from the language. With exposure, you will get used into the language. You will aware with the rhythm and the patterns. And by lots of exposure, obviously you will learn grammar naturally with the context. The role of vocabulary in language proficiency. No, in the language, if you want to communicate well, if you want to speak well, vocabulary is your weapon. If your lack of vocabulary or your vocabulary is limited, you will struggle in conversation, especially if you talking with native speakers. Native speaker obviously have wide range of vocabulary, and if you lack vocabulary, you will struggle. You don't understand them, and how you can communicate well if you don't have wide range of vocabulary. So that's why vocabulary vocabulary is one of the essential parts in language learning. But there is some mistakes or some mistakes on the how people learn vocabulary. In the next point, we will discuss the effective way to learn vocabulary, or more precisely to review the vocabulary. How to effectively review and expand your vocabulary? Now, obviously, we need to review our vocabulary, but here is the smart way to review or expand your vocabulary. The common mistakes: people review or memorize the vocabulary without context. For example, they buy book in, for example, 300 of common vocabulary in daily conversation English, and the books is just list of vocabulary with the meaning in your target language without context. I mean, without context, without content, right? And if you use that method, you memorize, for example, 300 vocabulary without context, it's useless. Yes, you don't know the pattern, you don't know the rhythm of the language. So the best way to review and expand your vocabulary is you need to a lot of consuming content, especially listening and reading. Listening and reading. Listen, and reading. Every you get new words you encounter, you pick it up, you write it, pick up, you don't need to review it or you memorize it. But just free activity, like you read every get new words you pick up. That is the nice way, that is effortless way to review vocabulary and effective. And you don't overthink about how to use and memorize it. The same words you encounter often with different contexts, you will automatically get used to it. You can use it and you can remember it. Building an extensive vocabulary is really important. It enables you to speak more clear and fluently, and it enables you to connect with native speaker on a deeper level. Minimal grammar focus. Okay. A lot of language learner is fear when encounter to the grammar. When they speak, they fear making grammar error. The thing is, grammar error is common mistake. Grammar error is obviously, of course, we will do grammar error when we speak in new language. So how we encounter that fear? To encounter that fear, afraid about making grammar mistake, is just change your mindset. Change your mindset is change your mentality. No problem making mistakes in grammar, because this is just time. When in time you will get better grammar. So my advice to you is reduce your emphasis to the grammar initially. Like, don't focus solely on the grammar in the beginning. Just focus on how you can communicate well, how your tongue can pronounce the English fluently, how you can brave yourself to speak confident and clear. That is the most important thing you need to do. Get a lot of exposure and experience with the language. However, and the truth is, you can improve your grammar through a lot of exposure. By a lot of exposure, your grammar will improve naturally, unconsciously. If you always read the correct context, the correct writing in English, you always listen to native speaker, you will pick up the grammar rules naturally. However, so stop afraid about making mistake in grammar, because native speakers can speak English fluently, naturally, without learning grammar before. So if native speaker can like that, can too. We still can be able to become great speaker or great communicator without learning grammar before. Learn with native speakers. This is really important. You learn with native speaker, not actually learn. However, you can just chat, just talk with the native speakers, or maybe you live in English speaking country. You have a lot of native speaker. This is really great. You get a lot of benefits from have friend as native speaker. Learning with native speaker have several benefits, because native speaker, obviously they are great in English because they learn English or learn English from the baby. They are born in this world and they start learn English. And by learning from native speakers, you can pick up naturally their pronunciation, their accents, and you don't need to extra hard to improve your English. Like you don't have to take course because you already have friend as native speaker. You don't need that stuff because you already get a lot of exposure with native speakers. So if you don't live in English speaking country, how you can engage with native speaker? How we can encounter them? Don't worry guys, in this era, in this 2023, too many apps with this advanced technology, too many apps, too many websites, we can encounter them, we can meet them, native speakers. You can pay, for example, you can meet them in Preply, italki, Cambly, or any other platform. You can find them in free WhatsApp group or free Facebook groups. That's usually they are the admin in FB groups, native speakers. So too easy. You can meet them online, or if you can find native speakers who are learn your language, you can do business. You can exchange language. For example, you can learn your language, and in return they teach English to you. It's so great. So guys, the benefits from learning with native speakers make you get closer with the culture English. Make you learn naturally, and usually you will get wide slang. Usually they use a lot slang and wide vocabulary. That is guys the benefits from learn with native speakers. More advanced, especially if you train your ear, if you improve your listening skill. That's really great if you listen to native speaker. But if you just want to talk, just want to chat with anyone who speak English, even they not native speaker, that's no problem. You can still improve your language skill. Rote memorization versus comprehension. And this is the common thing when we talking about learn new language. Obviously, the thing is first come in your mind is memorizing. Sure, memorize vocabulary, grammar rules, and something like that stuff. And some people, they memorize, if they want to do public speaking, they memorize text or script. Or if they want to talk to camera, they memorize script. And that is the common mistake. Like, we memorize language is not effective. Why? When you memorize and you don't have the comprehension yet, that is useless because you still forget it, and you still don't know the context, and you still don't know the how to use it, even you memorize it. And like, memorize language is like you force your brain to grasp the language. You don't let the language flows in yourself. Let language flows in your mind. Like, that's been rather than force your brain to memorize, you need to enhance your comprehension instead. Like, if you understand the context or understand what you listen, what you read, if you want to memorize, it's easier, right? Because you have understand all the meaning from the language. And for example, if you already understand maybe 90% when people speak in English, especially native speakers, that means your comprehension skill is good enough. And how you improve that comprehension skill? By surround yourself with the language, immersion. Maybe you always consume the content, neither read or listening, and you review that vocabulary, pick up every new word you get. That will enhance your comprehension skill naturally. However, so comprehension is, you need to improve rather than rote memorizations. And memorization is, like, my opinion, something that you do repeatedly, repetitive action. So in the language, you will repeat the words, the same context every day. When you are talking, you will encounter the same words every day. So in the language, we will automatically repetitive. We need to memorize it. So thanks guys for watching this long form video, and don't forget to subscribe or share if you find this beneficial.